Hi, I'm Neil Bergman.
And I'm Hayley Bergman. Over the last 10 years, we've helped thousands of fitness professionals to get qualified, learn with simplicity, and coach clients with confidence.
We're the first to say that learning and being a FITPRO doesn't have to be hard work, and that with the right structure, support and resources, you can become a confident and knowledgeable fitness professional that is dedicated to more.
So how do you learn, qualify and kickstart as a FITPRO? This is the FITPRO Session Podcast with Parallel Coaching.
Smart goal setting for FITPROs.
Season 8, episode 6.
That sounded super cheesy.
Did a bit,
And I wonder how many people we've already kind of like switched off by the word smart goal setting.
Yeah, so it's a phrase that you've probably heard of before.
Guaranteed.
And don't worry, this is going to be stuff you don't know about smart goal setting in a way that will help you not only with your clients and your case studies and your learning, but also for you and your studies and how you're putting this together so that you can benefit from setting clear goals.
Why do you think so many people struggle with goal setting and smart goals?
I think most people think it's a process. And then they get stuck on a process of, I've set a goal, but then they don't bring that goal, that focus of the end in mind of a goal.
Yeah.
We've said that so many times before, haven't we?
Yeah.
That you've got to start with the end in mind. That's the goal. And then if you've really focused on that, then the processes come from the goal. The goal is not the process.
So we did another FITPRO session on this, and we talked about process goals, we talked about outcome goals and performance-related goals.
Yeah.
And we're obviously going to touch on that today.
Yeah, definitely.
Have we already said that this is season 8, episode 6? Or
Yes,
not
we
yet?
have.
Okay, cool. That's where my brain is today. Welcome again.
We'll start it again.
We are talking about smart goal setting today. Now, we've heard about smart goal setting being specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound.
Yeah.
Which is what I suppose every FITPRO course manual is going to teach.
Yeah.
Now, I want to introduce 2 more, and I got my notes here just so I can recall them really quickly. Now, take the same acronym as SMART, but I want you to now replace those words for systems, monitor, attainable, relevant, and tracked.
Okay. Totally different.
Or simple, manageable, attainable, what does that say? I can't. Recordable, and teachable.
Nice.
Okay, so smart goal setting. You can now see how I struggle with writing. Okay, I'm like,
eligible.
What does my own writing say?
No, either for eligible.
So now we've got the acronym of SMART, but we've got 3 different approaches.
Yeah,
and
nice.
I think now when we mix all those words together, it's not necessarily about a specific goal. Okay, we could have specific systems that are simple.
Yes.
Which is all the S's. We could have measure, monitor, and manage.
Nice.
Okay. There's no point in having a goal and measuring it if you don't know how to monitor it and manage it.
Nice.
And then you've got the A's, which is achievable, attainable, and what does that say again?
That is attainable.
Oh.
So what's that actionable?
Actionable. There we go. I'm really struggling with my notes are horrendous, aren't they?
And then your R's are your relevant, realistic, and recordable.
Recordable. And then you've got time, they've got to be tracked, and they've got to be teachable. Okay? So I've got to be able to, as a coach, teach my client.
Yeah.
But if I teach it in a way that they could go on and teach somebody else,
that's
then
really
this
powerful.
goal is very simple.
Yeah,
and therefore
nice.
there's a specific system in place, which means anyone can measure, manage, and monitor it. So smart goal settings, right from the get-go of 3 minutes into this, we've learned 2 things. 1, my writing and ability to read
your own writing.
Read my own writing is horrendous. But more importantly, we've understood straight away that smart goal setting isn't just about the SMART acronym that we know inside our manual and is inside every industry.
What I like about the different ones that you've put in there as the extra wording, the extra description, just shows that it's not the process of tick, I've got a specific, tick, I've got a measurable, tick, it's achievable, tick, it's realistic, tick, it's time bound. It's not about just ticking these things off as a process and then going, there you go, that's the goal sorted, I don't need to look at that anymore. It actually all interconnects. So even down to the fact that your measure, your T has tracking in it, which to me relates to monitoring and managing back up in the M. So, and then your simplicity of your specific relates into the time bound of it being simple and teachable. So like they all interrelate. And that's because the overall goal means something and has deeper meaning for the client. And we spoke about the depth of communication on one of our last podcast episodes, whereby we were saying that you've got to dive deep into what your client really wants. You've got to know their whys. And that's part of this goal setting. So your deep communication, that deep questioning, allows you to go those 5 questions deep, allows you to go, well, what do you mean by this? Why do you want this? How do you want it? When do you want it? All those questions illustrate a nice big picture that is the end in mind.
And the deeper you go, the more data you collect from your client, which would be subjective and objective data, so what they think and feel versus what they can actually do.
Yeah, nice.
But the deeper I go, the more simple it becomes. Because now I've got all of the data that I can apply to planning forwards. And I say, well, because they said this or because they believe that, this is my system I'm going to approach, and this is the barrier I'm going to overcome. This is my high risk situation I've got to deal with the client. I'm going to make it really simple, and I'm going to teach it in a way like this.
Yes.
So you can't answer. You've got SMART, which is 5 specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time, which is 5 things. But now I've proposed you've got 15.
Yeah.
So by adding more, I've actually made it even more simple, because it allows you to go deeper on your 5 questions deep from a previous podcast. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And also what I like about this is that in order for it to be simple and to cover all 15 of these parts, it actually needs to be one thing. Not a million different goals in one.
Oh, nail on the head. Expand on that.
One goal.
Yeah, cool.
So there's a real power in actually, if you've got one goal, one focus. If you imagine a dartboard in front of you, I'm rubbish at darts, but you know,
that's true, and my feet are witness to that.
I've hit you in the feet a few times with darts. Anyway, if you imagine a dartboard, you've got one middle point that you're focusing
bullseye.
towards.
That's the bullseye. That's cool.
That's it. Cool. Yeah. You aim for the bullseye. One focus. One goal. Whereas if you had multiple dartboards and you didn't know which one to focus at, you'd just randomly be throwing it somewhere on that wall. Yeah. And actually then you're less likely to hit anything, let alone a bullseye. Well,
that's what I see in a lot of case studies that we've marked when goals first come in. You know, the overall goal might be to, let's just say, run a marathon.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's lots of components that help to run a marathon. But then you look at the goals and it's like to eat 5 fruit and veg per day. And then it might be something else to do with sleep. And it might be something, and all these goals, yes, they do impact towards the marathon. But the focus, the specific system and simple approach is not towards, the aim and objective is not towards the marathon.
Yeah.
There's lots of conflicting goals.
And sometimes even inside one SMART, you end up with, they want to lose weight, they want to reduce their waist circumference, they want to reduce their fat percentage, all inside one SMART. Whereas actually that's not a yes, my client has achieved it, because they might achieve one part of that, but not the other part of it. So what happens if they lose the waist circumference, but they don't lose the weight?
So inside,
have they achieved it or not?
Completely. So inside specific on the acronym we know it as, that would be a short statement of your aim and your objective.
Yes.
Okay, so the aim is what you're going to do, and the objective is how you're going to do it.
Perfect.
You're not going to write the next, War and Peace, the next Harry Potter sequel, or prequel, whichever one it would be, and have like a gazillion pages. It's just going to be a short statement. This is what I'm going to achieve, or this is what my client wants.
Yeah.
Okay. This is why they want it. This is when they want it by, and how we're going to go about it in a very short. Imagine like you can see their goal, okay, and then you're going to then fly 10,000 foot above their goal, and you're going to look down at it from above, this bird's eye view, and you're just going to pick out some key points that you can still see from 10,000 foot above.
Yeah,
that's what I see as the specific statement. It's still quite vague, it's still quite broad, but it's still the aim. This is what my client wants. This is why they want it. This is when they want it by. And this is how I'm going to do it. And it's right in the middle of that bullseye. In that, when you zoom out, you've then got that drop zone, that bullseye right in the middle, so you know exactly what it is you're aiming for. And within that, like say, it's specific, but the system of what you're doing in that is how you're going to achieve that one thing. So the system, is the objective. Yes. Completely. Yeah. Awesome. Yes. So they all fall together. So I want to kind of zoom out, and not from a 10,000 foot perspective, but I just want to zoom out, and I want to say that the goal okay, is not the defining factor, or the goal setting is not the defining factor of whether a client is going to be successful.
Ooh.
Okay, so something that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits, which is a great book. If you've not read it, definitely, go and download the Audible, or take some time if you do like reading and read it. But what he talks about, he says that if you had two Olympians,
right,
okay, and let's just say they
me
wanted me and you, okay, you and I, okay, and we wanted to pick a sport.
Oh, let's do
bodyboarding, surfing, because surfing is in the Olympics this year for the first time.
I was going to go with a sprint, but
let's go surfing, because we both do surfing. It's in the Olympics for the first time ever.
But you'll win.
Well, not necessarily, because we'll be in different classes. But let's just say that it was an equal, a level playing field.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your goal if you went into the Olympics?
Well, I want to win gold.
Cool. Well, I also want to win gold. So now that just debunks all of goal setting.
Yeah.
So what James Clear is talking about here is saying that we could both have the same goal, but only one of us can get gold. So it doesn't matter what the goal is.
Right.
Okay. What matters is how you go about getting that goal.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Okay.
So the system, not the
system
goal.
is more important than the goal, which is why we've got specific, systems, and simple.
Nice.
Okay,
So
cool. Let's take revision, for example. What's your goal? If you were going to revise for an exam, what would be your goal?
To pass my exam with top marks.
Okay, so mine would also be to pass my exam with top marks.
Nice.
We have the same goal.
Yeah.
But I might pass and you might refer.
Yeah.
But we still both have the same goal. What is the defining factor? The approach and system I took versus the approach and system you took.
Oh, I like it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, nice.
So this is why I think a lot of people get hung up on goals, and they think I've done a really good, my client's got a goal, they're very clear on what it is and why they want it and when they want it by. But what they're not clear on is the breaking down of those goals and thinking, right, I have an outcome goal. The outcome is I want to get a gold medal.
Yeah.
The outcome is I want to
pass my exam. Yeah.
The outcome is I want to achieve X in my business.
Yeah.
And then you've got performance related goals, which now allow us to go down, well, how am I going to measure this? How am I going to monitor it? How am I going to manage it? Is it achievable, attainable, reachable, relevant, recordable, time tracked, X, Y, and Z, all the other bits underneath.
Nice.
And then you've got the process goals, which are the very systems you're going to take today.
Yeah,
and
so the little processes along the way.
And we talked about this as this domino analogy and say, right, if I just push this one domino over today, this one task, this one action, and I can measure it, I can manage it, I can monitor it, it's tracked, it's timely, I know everything about this one thing today that has a meaningful impact and is a prerequisite to do tomorrow, then I'm going to get there.
Nice. What I also really love about this whole season is about behaviour change. And actually we're talking about goal setting. Now, if somebody wants to achieve a goal, they have to change their behaviour in order to achieve something new. Because else, if you stay doing what you've always done, you'll get what you've always gotten. So it's gotten. Is that a word?
It is now.
It's a bit Devon, so apologies.
Gotten. It's a little bit gotten, it is. Yeah, well done. Keep going.
I need to change my my behaviour or my language.
There we go.
Anyway, so because it's about behaviour change, once they're in there, if you look at the system, that's the behaviour or the habit that they are changing over time to achieve a new outcome. And that's really interesting. If you take it back to just the revision and passing the exam, I go, right, passing the exam might be my goal, but my system is to learn regularly every single week for 8 weeks. So inside that time, I'm going to put aside 1 hour or 2 hours of study every single week.
Well, I think this is why
part of my system.
I think this is why so many people don't achieve their goals. Okay, because inside one goal or one particular day of goals, one particular process, one particular domino of goals, you don't actually get any closer to your goal. And what I mean by that,
which is a bit discouraging, right?
Which is incredibly discouraging and demotivating, and it also allows us, and next week we're going to go into CBT, which is our thoughts, feelings and emotions and how all that's interconnected, because inside one revision session, okay, I might spend, let's just say 45 minutes learning something about origins and insertions, and at the end of that I might walk out and go, I can't recall, I can't remember, I feel like I've learned nothing, it was overwhelming, I can't even pronounce the names, okay? And inside that one session, you perhaps have this thought, feeling, emotion that you didn't actually progress.
Right.
It's like the same for somebody that's got a weight loss goal.
Yeah, I was thinking
you go
that.
to the gym and you burn, let's just say 300 calories. You go on a cross trainer for 35 minutes, whatever. I don't know why I said 35 minutes. Half an hour, 30 minutes. And you burn 300 calories.
Yeah.
You haven't really got any closer to your overall goal.
But you did start setting a behaviour.
But I did start setting a habit and a behaviour.
And that habit and behaviour stacks up over weeks and weeks and weeks.
100% it
to get
does.
the goal.
So it's not what you do in one session, it's what you do in all of the dominoes.
Powerful.
Yeah.
I love that.
And there becomes a tipping point. Okay.
Yeah.
So your first domino you push over, the first day you revise, you're like, well, it didn't really feel like I'm any closer to my goal.
Yeah.
And you do it again the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And it's what you repeatedly do is who you become. So whatever you're doing consistently right now, okay, and we're recording this in April. I was going to say March then, but it's April 2021. April. I am present. I am current. Okay. And it's April the 7th.
Yeah.
I'm good at that. Okay. I don't know why I said it like that.
I'm good at that. I just
had to prove to myself I knew the date. But what you've been doing in the last 90 days is a reflection of your habits, your priority, your values. But what you've been doing over the last, say, 3 months is going to have a direct impact on who you are this time next year.
Yeah,
potentially.
Lovely. Because it's the behaviour that you change that creates a specific outcome, not just of what you've achieved, but who you become.
Completely. So one thing my coach said, I read in the week, was what you do inside 2021 sets up your 2026.
Ooh,
because that was like the 5-year domino effect.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it does.
if I fast forward on my 10,000 foot goal of my SMART for 2026, what do I want that to look like? I've got to be thinking about the daily processes and habits that I want to implement now, the systems now, to queue up and line up 2026.
Well, if we rewind, because I love that so much, if we rewind back to, was it episode 1 or 2 where we spoke about the yellow brick road?
Yes.
That yellow brick road only works if the client has a goal.
Perfect.
Because you've got to know where to lay the bricks towards.
Yep.
And then you provide as the coach, you provide all the yellow bricks. They place all the bricks in the right place, but you've got to help them guide it towards their goal, right?
You know that they're going to get a yellow brick because that's the only bricks you've got.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're only going to give them one and they're only going to take one, going in the right direction towards their goal.
But they need that goal to start off with, else the behaviour change can't happen because there's no aspiration to change or to become something else.
Well, let's go another step further along our yellow brick road. You can have a goal and say, right, that's my goal. The client's goal is over here, okay? But there's a very specific system to picking up that yellow brick and placing that yellow brick down. And there's a very specific system to putting that brick on the floor in a very particular angle, in a very particular way, in order for us to step on it.
Yeah, and how you stick it in. What is that, like mortar around the edge or concrete or whatever
something
it is?
like that. There we go.
Stickability.
Yeah, stickability.
That should be another S.
It could be, couldn't it? But the system I want you to consider is of equal importance to the specific goal, if not more important than the actual goal itself.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So what is it? How are they going to actually pull this goal off? What are the actionable tasks that they have to do daily, okay, weekly, and potentially some tasks could even be monthly or bi-monthly, okay, or bi-week, whatever it is, all the denominations. Okay, what are the specific things they have to do at particular times to pull this goal off?
And I think that's what they need you most for. And
that's where accountability comes in.
Exactly. I find this mostly with revision and studies because that's who we work with a lot as FITPROs. So when people, they go, I know that I want to pass my exam. I know everything that I need to do as part of that, but I have no idea where to start. I have absolutely no idea, which is overwhelm, right? So no idea where to start. I've got all this content. I don't know how to learn it. They don't have the system in place to learn it, which is what your client is coming to you and saying, I know what I want, but I have no idea how to get there. Where do I even start?
They could globally say, well, I need to move more. I need to go to the gym. I need to perhaps lift some weights. I need to do some core exercises, but they don't know the specifics, which is why specific systems are key to the SMART acronym. And then you've got simple. Yeah. Because if it's not simple, you can't follow it. If you can't follow it, you're not going to do it. If you don't do it and it's not simple, you're not going to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, you ain't doing zilch. Nada.
Exactly.
You're like diddly squat.
And if it's not simple, it's overwhelming. And nobody starts anything when it's overwhelming.
No, completely.
Perfect.
Which is why I think so many people put off, they set a New Year's resolution or they have this audacious goal, but because they can't break it down into a systematical format, it's never going to be simple.
Yeah.
And because it's not simple, they don't take action in the first place.
Yeah, perfect.
And then what if it was as simple as with your client, you went, all you've got to do is I'm going to ask you a question, you're going to answer it, and then depending on your answer, I'm going to ask you another question, and depending on how that pans out, I'm going to give you a yellow brick. And you're going to take that yellow brick when you're ready. There's lots of yellow bricks that you can take, and you're going to put it on the floor towards your goal. And together, we're going to walk the yellow brick road. It's quite simple.
Yeah, and with every brick, you might not feel like you necessarily achieved your goal yet, but over time you will.
And some bricks you're going to pick up are going to be uncomfortable. They're going to potentially cause a higher level of anxiety.
Some might be a bit heavy.
Some might be a bit heavy, completely. Metaphorically heavy as well, psychologically heavy, physiologically heavy.
Yeah.
But they might cause even more panic, more overwhelm, and that's okay. And I think as coaches, we've got to be comfortable with asking tough questions, okay, for the client to have a better answer, a world-class question.
Which is what our communications episode was all about,
Yes.
wasn't it? Asking those great questions so you can get a great
Which
result.
allows us to break down this very specific goal that we're after, for us to be able to articulate what the client is thinking, because they might not be able to,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
And for us to summarize it and paraphrase it back, which we talked about last week,
Yeah.
and come up now with a system that allows us to get from A to B in the most simplest straight line possible.
Perfect.
Knowing that there's going to be barriers, there's going to be hurdles, there's going to be things in our way, and high risk situations, which we talked about in the previous behaviour change one as well.
Wonderful. And then the next part down, when you're looking at the M's,
Is
the measure, manage and monitor.
perfect.
And I remember you saying this so often when you're working with your bootcamp clients in particular, just continually saying you've got to measure, manage and monitor. If you don't, we don't know where you are on your yellow brick road, basically, to the outcome. I have no idea where your outcome is.
Well, I think this is
or
what's
where
wrong
you're
with the
starting.
SMART acronym, because if you go, well, I'm going to measure the client, you go, right, so I don't know, let's say the goal is weight loss, and we go, cool, we're going to jump on the scales.
Yeah.
Okay, not literally jump on the scales. We're going to get on the
Quite regular.
scales, and we're going to measure your weight.
Yeah.
Great. We now know what your weight is now. But if I don't monitor your weight, how do I know if you're going in the right direction?
There you go. So
And
you've
if
got to
I don't-
regularly review that.
And now I need to manage your weight by saying, right, so your weight went up. We clearly aren't in a calorie deficit. Let's go back to the system. Let's go back to making it more simple and make sure we manage this so it's going in the right direction.
And again, that's behavioural change, right?
Completely.
So are the behaviours we've put in place the relevant behaviours, and are you sticking to them enough to get further down towards your goal? Or are we starting to go off on a different route whereby we're not going to end up at the goal point?
I'm really looking forward to next week when we talk about and explore cognitive behavioural therapy. Because we're going to talk about helpful thoughts and unhelpful thoughts in relation to the goal. And how, I suppose what we're really going to uncover here is self-sabotage.
Yes.
And why we sabotage and how we do that. Because we could have a helpful thought that is aligned with our goal, or we could have an unhelpful thought that is not aligned with our goal. I've teed it up quite nicely, I
You
think.
have? Really
There we
nicely.
go. I've been teaching SMART goals, and for over a decade now, and I remember going through these 15 options of SMART. Okay, way back in like 2008, 2009, when we first wrote the Level 4 obesity course.
Yeah.
Okay, and people thought I was crazy because they were like, well, no, SMART is just SMART, and it's specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. I'm like, well, measurable. It's great that we measure a client's waist circumference, but if I don't monitor what's going on, and I know that if I have a specific, simple system in place, and we adhere to the ACSM recommendations, I'm going to see a significant change in my client's waist in, say, 10, 12, 14 days' time, by which I need to monitor it. Is it going the right way? Yes or no? If it's not, then I'm going to get to the end of my, 12-week goal and go, oh, we didn't stay on track. What happened? I am responsible, as equal as the client is responsible, for guiding this yellow brick road.
And how often you do those review points of those remeasures so you can manage that system. And this is your tweak, because you don't, this might sound a surprise to you, But when you first qualify, for example, you don't know everything and you never will. So it's not a case of like, well, I've passed, I should be able to give them the most perfect program and the most perfect nutrition advice for them to follow, and they're going to follow those and it will work perfectly first time, because it won't. And there'll need to be little tweaks that need to happen with every client forever.
We've used this analogy before, this story, but take like a world-class triathlete, Ironman.
Yeah.
Okay. When they get in the water, they're heading towards a buoy or a buoy.
Yeah.
Okay.
A buoy.
And they're going to swim however many miles. Okay. But they might go or start to veer off course. Okay, you'd hope they wouldn't in training. They've got a very specific system that's simple in order for them to navigate through the water.
Yeah.
But what you might find is through the tide or the currents or the wind, they start to veer off course. And at the side of the course, you've got the kayakers beating their paddle on the water, which is a clear sound for the swimmers to say you're getting close to being far off course.
Yeah.
You need to change your direction. And that's measure, manager, monitor.
Yeah,
So
keep them back on
even
track.
the world's best Ironman triathletes still need some guidance inside the very thing they're competing in, not just inside the actual training.
I love that analogy. I think it's really clear in everything we do. Like, even if you think about a behavioural change that you've made yourself, whereby you go, right, I'm going to start eating healthier, or maybe this was a big change that you made when you first started fitness. Just think about like one thing that you changed. You get so far through and you kind of get to a point where you're like, old habits start to sneak back in, or you start relaxing off, or you start changing your standards. You almost need someone else beating that paddle on the water to say, remember, this is what the course of action is, or we need to tweak this.
Well, that'd be like an external locus of control, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Or somebody like reminding you of your specific goal. You're aiming for this, Hayley. This is the objective. This is how we're going to do it.
Can you see how your current actions are sending you off course?
Completely, which again, we're kind of jumping into maybe a little bit of next week of like helpful and unhelpful thoughts, feelings and emotions. But yeah, like it needs to be measurable. We need to be able to measure it in a number of ways. That could be subjectively, which would be maybe through like questionnaires or talking and various behavioural approaches, okay, or head sessions, I call them. But also that could be objective, so we could measure it through a physical test.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so a blood pressure test, for example.
Yeah.
It's all very well measuring it in week 1 and saying, right, your blood pressure was, 156 over 90. It's not great right now.
Yeah.
We're going to measure it every day, maybe. We're going to measure it and manage it and monitor it for every Monday for the next 5 weeks. I want to make sure what I'm doing inside the system is actually benefiting us towards our health, well-being and fitness and performance.
And I like how you said you could do a mixture of subjective and objective, because subjective is evaluated by opinion, so it's somebody's opinion of where they're at, whereas an objective is evaluated by a hard fact, a number, a fact, a measurement. So you've got these two ways of being able to measure. Now, some of those, like a subjective opinion of how they feel, you could do like daily.
Yeah, completely.
How are you feeling today? That's a subjective opinion of
One
how
of the things
they're
I've
progressing.
enjoyed doing with clients is just having a woohoo form, which for the best part they could
It's a free form.
That's a free service as well. You could have it as a Google Doc, whereby every day or once a week, how the frequency is up to you, but for them to record their subjective opinion of how good yesterday was, or how they're feeling today, or how good their breakfast was.
Yeah.
And it just allows you to identify, I suppose, their self-efficacy in that moment
Yes.
of where they're at.
Oh, it all layers together.
Yeah, completely.
It's good. So let's look at the other. Oh, we're on A. I almost missed out A.
Completely. It'll be a spat. Spat. Okay, so we've got achievable, attainable, and actionable. Now,
These all interrelate, don't they?
yeah, they almost say the same thing, but they say it in a different way. So it's a different perspective, and we've not talked about NLP, and NLP is like our view of the world. Okay, so
Our deeper values
our
and beliefs.
deeper values. So, for example, like right now in the office, Hayley could look at the wallpaper straight ahead of us, and your perception of that wallpaper would be very different to mine.
I go, it's stripy.
And I go, it's liney. Okay, but we're looking at it from our map of the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, although they might mean the same thing, they have different perceptions and perspectives. So, achievable.
And what I really like about achievable as a statement is a lot of people go, oh yeah, on SMART goals, they just put a tick here and they go, yes, it's achievable.
But why?
What makes it achievable, and in whose book is it achievable?
Yeah.
Explain.
Explore.
So I like if this is the place to say, is it globally achievable? Has somebody achieved it before? Or is it in line with a recommendation or a guideline? So if somebody said, I want to achieve a 3-minute mile, you'd go, oh, don't think that's physically achievable yet, because they've broken a 4-minute, but I don't think we're there at a 3-minute yet. Is it physically achievable? And then similarly of like, I want to lose a stone in a week. Well, actually the guideline is 1 to 2 pounds a week. Oh, so does it fit, in whose book is this achievable?
Now you've got a different set of questions, because the client might be sitting there with you and go, well, I really need to lose this 1 stone pretty quick. I've got an important event to go to and I really need to lose this weight. And that's where you have this conversation and I suppose therapeutic approach to establish the guidelines
of what's achievable,
and say, well, I'm not actually going to give you this yellow brick right now because that's not achievable.
Yeah, and you're going to be really, and it's managing expectations up front, isn't it? Because they'd be really disappointed if the actions that they were doing actually only achieved 1 to 2 pounds per week weight loss, which was achievable, based on your advice and moving forward. But they were expecting 1 stone a week. They're going to be really, really disappointed when they hop on the scales for that remeasure. So is it achievable to what you're expecting to see in those remeasure where you've got that measure, manager, monitor?
And this is where you would bring in your ACSM recommendations, your NICE guidelines, any research from NHS. I suppose NICE would be the overarching.
And look at what people have achieved before.
Also look what they've achieved before. Have they successfully achieved weight loss before? Yes, they might have relapsed and rebounded and put all that weight back on. But simply highlighting and saying to the client, and I've done this so many times with clients, and say, for example, I don't know, let's just give them a name, Bob, okay, and say, Bob, but you've already documented that you've lost a stone before. I had one client, in fact, back in 2016 that I worked quite closely with for almost 3 years. Historically, they had gone from 23 stone all the way down to 11 stone and put it all back on way before I met them. But that was clear evidence that for a number of years, they'd gone from 23 stone down to 11. They'd literally halved their body weight. Like, that is phenomenal.
The nice thing about that is they already have self-efficacy based on their own previous performance that they could achieve it.
Completely.
Which is also what, in terms of it being attainable and something that they
is the next day.
Stick to. So attainable means, yes, something you can stick to time and time again. But attainment is also the doing of. So knowing that you've done it before is attainability.
That's self-attainment.
Exactly.
Completely.
So to be attainable is something that they know they could do and that you know they could stick to.
Perfect. Which comes back to a simple system. Yeah, you like this. And then the other one is actionable. Like, can they take action immediately? Can they walk out of this session and say they've already taken action? Yes, because you've taken them through 5, 7, 8 questions deep on their goal, and we've got all 15 of these SMART acronyms sorted. But what can they action straight away? Can they get in their car and walk straight away and go, do you know what, this is the action I'm going to take? Can they go home that night and say to their loved one, their husband, their wife, their kid, and go, right, this is the action we're taking now? Because so many people stack up and see decision making as a big ordeal, a big thing of taking action. But actually, it's not. A decision is made in a heartbeat, in like the flick of my fingers. I was like, what are these things? And it's the lead up and the procrastination and the kind of mental, what's the word I'm looking for again? Like
the processes
of building up to that decision that cause overwhelm and anxiety.
Yeah, and that's why you've got the system that is simple. And so because it's actionable.
So the action needs to be so simple. You either did do it or you didn't do it.
Yeah.
You don't have to think about it. It's, well, it was such a simple action. Bam, decision made.
And I just do that one action.
I did it and I've done it.
It's not overcomplicated. Love that.
Whereas if it's not actionable and they have to think about, well, I can't do this until I've done that. It becomes a this and that world. I can't make that dinner until I've gone and done this shopping. And I can't do this shopping until I've dropped paid or I've picked the kids up over. And you're like, hold on a minute. There's lots of things in the way of it being actionable. So can they walk out and can it be actionable whereby it's a decision of, I've already done it. I've taken action.
So it makes it present rather than future.
Yes.
Love that.
And the more actionable it can be means it's got to be very, very simple.
Lovely.
And inside the simplicity of that, the system can just be broken down. And that's what I love about James Clear's Atomic Habits, because atomic is like the tiniest particle you can possibly have. So what's the tiniest thing they could do inside their goal that is actionable, that doesn't need any other thought, feeling or emotion to get in the way and go, well, I can't do it now because we want to take away the because.
I think
Sorry to jump in. That would be like your 5 questions deep to find out what would be, if we make this actionable, what would be their because right now? And we need to eliminate that because with them.
Their barrier gets
Their
removed.
barrier completely.
And I really like the fact that this sits right in the middle of the SMART goal as this actionable thing, because a goal sounds so future focused, right? I've got that goal to do. I'm heading towards that goal.
I'm going to complete that Ironman.
This is my next goal.
That the exam.
These are my business goals. These are my quarter goals, whatever it might be. And you go, well, that's what my goal is. But actionable now means I am working towards this goal. I am in this goal. So it's now change talk that is very actionable and very present.
I love that.
Rather than future based.
Yes, and that's when we want to, as coaches, as FITPROs, we want to latch hold of that positive change talk.
Yeah, literally.
And the more actionable we can make it, you'll find that you are firmly inside an action state of a transtheoretical model, and it should be incredibly biased to positive change talk.
Yeah, I am doing this.
I did it. Look what I've done. Yeah, completely.
Amazing.
And the more of those, look what I've done, look what I did.
I do this.
Check me out. Although it can appear very like me, it builds up huge self-efficacy, okay, from internal and external locus of control. But the more you push that domino over, the more you lay that yellow brick road, you're going to become, I want to lay another brick, because you know you can do it. You know what it feels like to have a mini win.
It's a great affirmation as well, right?
Completely. So one of the things I would say, we've all done it in all of the podcasts so far. Let's have like a little actionable step for you guys to go away and think about in terms of your marketing. What mini win can you give inside your marketing today? What mini win could you give inside your free Facebook group? When you onboard a client, what mini win could you give them?
And by mini win, you mean like action. What action could they take now?
Could they take right now? Yeah, like
then they'll do it. They have the mini win and they go, I do this, or I have done this.
Yes.
Which means that if you can get them to have a mini win, they associate you with success. Then if they want help in the future, you're the only place they go.
But also you've made them feel good. And if you feel good, you're more likely to take action, and therefore you're going to have self-attainment, and therefore it's going to be achievable, and you'll be like, I can do this. Like, I feel great. I've got this.
Yeah.
And if you got this, you're like, well, actually, I'm going to measure it. And if I'm going to measure it, I'm going to manage and monitor it. You're like, okay, what did I do? Well, it was a really simple action inside a very simple system. Damn, I'm on fire.
Yeah.
And you feel good. It's a self-perpetuating cycle up, as opposed to a self-fulfilling prophecy down.
Nice.
Okay.
What mini win can you
mini win can you give somebody? Nice. Let's move on to R's. So you've got realistic, relevant, and recordable.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I really like realistic because this links into what you said earlier about barriers.
Yeah.
So realistic, so we had achievable being, is it globally achievable? And realistic is it realistic for this client to realistically achieve it, not only in the time frame you've set out, but also for them based on their barriers. So if you turn around and say, is it realistic that this person can, let me say, pass their exam in a week? They've not started revising. Is it realistic? It is certainly achievable for somebody to do that. But is it realistic for somebody that can only do 30 minutes of revision in that whole week?
Perfect.
No, because their time barrier is too great. Whereas somebody that's not got that time barrier, yes, it's realistic.
Another one could be, it's achievable to lose 2 kgs per week.
1 to 2 pounds.
1 to 2 pounds. So 2 pounds per week. So reframe that, 2 pounds per week, not 2 kilos. Okay. It's achievable to lose 2 pounds per week. Is it realistic in the next week for my client to do that? Well, my client's got Easter weekend. They're then going away on holiday, and then they come back having been out of work for ages, and they're going to be in the office for 14-hour days.
Yeah.
You're going to go, well, based on the next week, that it is achievable, but it's not realistic for my client.
It also could relate from a weight loss point of view about whether they have that weight to lose. So you said about one guy that's 23 stone. He's got more weight to lose than somebody that is already near the end of their journey and maybe more like 11 stone.
Which is why you have to go back and look at the specific, what am I aiming for? That's where we start the end in mind, and being very realistic and relevant on that, and saying, well, where are you in your stage of journey?
If you only have 2 pounds to lose overall, are you expecting that to happen in 1 week?
Completely.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Nice.
And you might think, well, actually, they've only got 2 pounds to lose. Could they lose it in 1 week? But we're so far into the journey now.
They've already changed so many variables.
What are the final kind of 1% things I need to change in order to tweak and finally push over the edge and finally get that final £2?
I think that's the harder bit.
That's the harder bit, completely. The next thing, is it relevant?
Yeah, nice. This relates back to specific, right?
Yeah.
So is it relevant for them? Like, does it even relate to the goal that they want? Like, when they go, I really want to run that marathon. Does that does it really hit home? And with the goal that you set in place, like, is it really what they want? Like, why they're doing it? Is it relevant for them?
And are the goals conflicting inside that? Because you can say, right, well, I want to run a marathon, but I also need to lose a little bit of weight in order to feel more comfortable in my run. So is it relevant? Are they conflicting?
Yeah.
Okay, is that right word of saying it?
Yeah. So interfering with each other.
Is it interference? That was the word I wanted to get into completely. I really like the next one, which is recordable. So if I go into the gym, okay, and I look around the gym now, and there'd be like, let's say we went into the local, I don't know, any health club, any gym, and you'd look around the free weights room or the weights room, and you could immediately pinpoint the person that has dialed in their goal, their SMART goal the most, because they are there with a notepad and pen recording every single weight lifted, every pound lifted, every rep moved with some notes, and they are recording every minutia, is that right?
Yeah, minutia, yeah.
Of what's gone on, how they felt, how heavy it was, and versus the person that might have a plan but they're not recording. The person that's recording in detail now has data because they are on the spot, in the moment, presently measure, managing and monitoring, which means they can review that session. So you could have another R as review.
Yeah.
We didn't put another one down, but you could have review. So recordable and reviewing would be the same thing, because you could review your progress or regression inside that session, that actionable task to say, am I on track?
That evaluates where you're at in comparison to where you thought you'd be, and keep looking forwards.
So
I like that.
A notepad and pen for every client, and have running notes is absolutely key to success.
I don't think you can beat a good old school notebook, can you?
Well,
I love that.
If you take, it doesn't matter about how you record it. It could be electronic, but if you take, for example, a physician, a doctor, an osteopath or whatnot, they'd have a case file for every single person.
Yeah, they would.
A case file for every single person.
Yeah.
Why is it, as say, FITPROs, and maybe this is a derogatory comment, I'm okay with it for FITPROs, hopefully it triggers you to have a behaviour change, to say, why haven't I got an ongoing case note for every single client? The more data I record, okay, providing it's relevant towards the goal, okay, the faster I'm going to achieve that goal with the client. The faster they're going to say, can I have another brick, Neil? Can I have another brick? And I'm going to go, I got plenty of bricks. Here we go. We know we're heading from A to B, and I'm going to be that lighthouse coach as opposed to the tugboat coach.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Which
Next
leads
one
us
down,
into T's.
which is time.
Yeah.
It's no good. I feel like I've gone all negative. It's no good saying, oh, my client's going to achieve this in 12 weeks. Because it doesn't do anything for the client.
That's interesting.
The client might say, well, I've got a wedding to go to in 12 weeks' time. It's like, great, well done. What are we going to do with that information? Time will continue. Time will never stop. So it's no good just saying that is the time frame.
I like that.
Okay?
Well, it has to relate to the system, right?
It has to relate.
I have a 12-week system.
I have a 12-week system, and inside this 12-week system, I have a series of smaller actionable systems that could look like daily domino tasks to push over, and we're going to measure it like this. So we're going to measure this one tomorrow. We're going to measure weight every Friday. We're going to measure waist circumference every 14 days. So what is the time in relation to what it is you're managing and monitoring?
Nice. I like that. That's really cool. Because it's like saying, I want to earn more money, isn't it? And then someone turning around and saying, well, okay, when do you want to earn more money by? You can have $1 now, or you can have I never use dollars. It's a bit weird. You can have
$1 right now.
You can have a pound coin now, or you can have a pound coin in 3 months' time. When do you want it? Either way, you've earned more money, but you need to be clear on the time frame,
and you need to be very clear and specific on
the
your
amount,
goal.
right?
Tony Robbins said this. How much money?
Maybe that's where I got the dollar
from.
Completely.
Yeah, because he would say I want more money. Well, there's $1. Crack on.
Yeah.
You've got to be specific of what it is you want, how you're going to get it and when you want it by, which comes back to the start with the end in mind of specific, system and simple.
Exactly.
Okay, so aim and objective. What do you want? Why do you want it? When do you want it? And when do you want it by?
Love it.
Completely. So time is key to link back to the various, is it achievable? Well, it is achievable because the ASSM guidelines suggest and research this. Is it realistic for the client's lifestyle and their current abilities? Yes, it is. Their current agility, their current balance, their current coordination.
Fitness level.
Level, their training age. And you link time back to all of the other variables inside SMART, which would be specific, system, simple, measure, manager, monitor, achievable, attainable, actionable, realistic, relevant, and recordable, and review.
Nice. And then the next T relates to recordable anyway, because it's about tracking. So that is, in my mind, the same as tracking that you're on track to get to that goal. And that's that evaluation along the way,
What I like about tracking is right from day dot with the client is having like an overview of the next, for example, 12 weeks and allowing them to see when we're going to track. Because if somebody has a 12-week goal, 12 weeks away is quite a way. So if I said to a learner now, you're going to do your exam in 12 weeks time, the likelihood is they're not going to take serious action until about 4 to 6 weeks before. Now, if I say, right, so this is the time frame of each one of these goals, we're going to measure, manage and monitor here. These are the systems we're going to do. But we're going to track your progress here, here, here and here. They're going to have that same kind of, I suppose, kick up the butt feeling.
Yeah,
as
little
if it
deadline.
was a mini deadline, as if we were 4 weeks out from full goal achievement, goal attainable. But we're going to track it next Tuesday, which is only 5 days away. It's like, oh, you're going to feel the heat, you're going to feel the fire and go, I've got to take this seriously. So what I like about time and track is it's about taking it seriously. Are you going to take action? Are you going to do what you said you're going to do? Because we are tracking as if it were the end goal next Friday.
And it's nice pre-planned expectations of when that's going to be tracked, isn't
Yes.
it? It's not like, oh, we'll track again at some point. I'll measure you again at some point. It's like, we'll do that again here. We'll do that again here.
Completely.
Nice.
And then the final one, which I think is the most powerful, is teachable. So I must be able to break this down like we have done today and teach. And break it down and give stories and give analogies and give metaphors. And it must be so simple as if I'm teaching you in Crayola crayons, but you could go to somebody else and go, well, Neil taught me this today, and I'm going to teach you it in Crayola crayons as well.
Yeah. Could you teach to a 5-year-old?
Could you teach to a 5-year-old?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which makes it really powerful. And then you know it's simple. You know there's a system. You know you could literally give them that yellow brick. This is us teaching it to you using the yellow brick road, right? So is it so simple that they could imagine themselves doing it?
Completely.
That's
and it's
teaching.
something a friend of mine or a mentor of mine said many years ago, okay? He said, a picture paints 1,000 words, okay? But a metaphor paints 1,000 stories. And inside a story is 1,000 words. Okay, so notice today we talked about various clients. We talked about the Iron Man person. We've picked up.
We've got the yellow brick road. We've got the lighthouse. We've got.
We said about us going to the Olympics and doing surfing. So the moment you add metaphors and stories and analogies, you're going to be able to teach somebody far quicker than ever before.
The reason why that works is you're basically linking something they already understand, like say the Olympics. You understand about Olympics and going for a gold medal, but you don't necessarily understand what we're teaching you about, say, the goals. So it links something you already know, something you don't know, which is basically learning.
Perfect. In a nutshell. So what we would really like today is for you to jump inside the inner circle. If you're not inside the Facebook inner circle for parallel coaching, there's a link somewhere around whatever platform you're on, and you can come in there totally for free. There's almost 2,000 FITPROs just like you right now that are all having the same daily battles, I suppose, of being a FITPRO.
And the same daily celebrations, which is really nice.
And so it's a really nice place to be. So what I'd really like to know is, what have you learned from today?
Yeah, drop in your takeaway. You can leave that in the Inner Circle Facebook group, or if you want to just send us a message, either way. What's your big takeaway from today on the SMART? That's another T. Takeaway. What is your big kind of goal
what's
takeaway?
Your top takeaway?
I think for me, it's about having the system.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I stole yours, but really understanding that a system is more important than the overall goal, and that actually once you've got a goal, you still need a system to get to the goal, else it's not anything, it's just a thing in the future that you want.
A bit of that was like a Jack Sparrow moment.
It's the longest sentence in the world.
Completely. So my takeaway would be that we could both have the same goal, but that's not the defining factor of whether I achieve it or not. Okay,
nice.
so I could go my goal, and we hear this so much, certainly inside revision, of like, I really want to pass, so this is my goal, I'm doing this, and this is what I'm heading towards. But it comes back to what your takeaway was. Without the system, the goal is null and void.
Yeah.
But you need a goal to have a system, and you need a system to achieve a goal.
Hey!
There we go. Outside of that, what I'd love you to do is to, if you're listening in iTunes, is to drop us a 5-star review, because the reviews have been coming in thick and fast, and it helps us reach more people. So this is a podcast that is not sponsored, and it is driven primarily on your reviews and feedback,
and sharing it with your friends.
That organic reach. So, you could do a number of things. You could take a picture of yourself whilst listening, out on a walk or whatever you're doing, and put that in your Facebook, Instagram stories and tag us in.
That'd be lovely.
You could write a review. You could go and drop a comment on Facebook page. You could drop a comment under any one of our posts on our social media. And that just allows for more organic reach. And you know what? The gratitude for that is just phenomenal, because I never thought when we had the goal of starting a podcast that we would reach not even the amount of people we reach on a weekly basis. And I know that it's getting to more and more people every week.
But the good thing is, although we had that goal of doing a podcast, we had a system in place that allowed us to follow it to get to this point and have a goal.
There we go.
Yay!
I like it. Next week, we're going to be talking about cognitive behavioural therapy, or CBT. So we're going to be jumping back into one of the behaviour change strategies or therapeutic approaches that can help elicit a full behaviour change.
Awesome.
And we go from there.
Yep.
Outside of that, we'll see you
in the
next
next
week.
one.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Neil Bergman.
And I'm Hayley Bergman. Over the last 10 years, we've helped thousands of fitness professionals to get qualified, learn with simplicity, and coach clients with confidence.
We're the first to say that learning and being a FITPRO doesn't have to be hard work, and that with the right structure, support and resources, you can become a confident and knowledgeable fitness professional that is dedicated to more.
So how do you learn, qualify and kickstart as a FITPRO? This is the FITPRO Session Podcast with Parallel Coaching.